Just waiting for the little red dot. There it is. Welcome into MJT Football. I'm your host today, Tony Tucker. We got NFL Mike at the bottom. We got Joe Morley. We're going to be talking about some training camp news and some rumors. We're going to try and keep it mostly positive, as we like to do here on this program. If you're new, please consider subscribing. We're three friends who love talking football, but we're always looking for a fourth. I mean, I know Joe's excited because the Raiders clearly are whooping the 49ers. Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions, and somehow Trey Lance is still QB3. They gave up 3 first-round picks. 3.
Yeah, Tony, I don't know. All reports coming out of training camp today or the last 2 days is the Raiders ones have been tearing up the 49ers ones. But it's practice, Tony. We're talking about practice. But Brock Purdy supposed to be in the answer to the 49ers questions, and he threw 3 interceptions against a defense that's not supposed to be good. The 49ers threw 8 interceptions today at practice. 8 interceptions against the Raiders. But the sky's falling in Las Vegas, Tony. Davante Adams is hurt. Davante Adams limped off the field today because the 49ers got mad that they couldn't stop the Raiders in practice. They had to hurt Davante Adams.
So, Joe, it's not that they're supposed to be bad or whatever. They're bad. Your defense, the defense is bad and will be bad, and they're having a good day of practice, which is a good, positive thing. This is a momentum-building opportunity. But
we can start the show off right now with a good bet, Tony. I bet you right now the Raiders have a better ranked defense than the Chargers.
That is not going to happen. That will not happen.
I saw the Chargers defense.
What's the bet,
I'll tell
Joe?
you that.
What's the bet, Joe?
We'll think of something, but I'll put
No.
one.
If you're going to throw a challenge out, you better say what you're going to be doing at the end of the season right now.
I don't know. What do you want to do, Tony? I'll do whatever because the Raiders defense will by far be better than that Charger defense.
I don't know if your work will allow you to do this or not, Joe, but I want a lightning bolt shaved into the side of your head.
Ooh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I was thinking.
I don't know if I would be able to, but like I said, white people and lightning bolts is not a good combo.
That's exactly why I want it on the side of your head. A great big old. So they're confused. They don't know if you're a Lightning McQueen fan. They don't know what's going on.
No, that's like a very racist thing.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
The Chargers logo back here. Anyways, I was gonna say we could recreate the situation where Joe got thrown out of training camp, except for this time he is in Chargers gear and he does get the VIP pass, but he's got to rock it for the entire day. And I'm gonna tell all the Chargers fans in attendance to video him and post it up on their stories at least.
Yeah, I don't know if people know this, but yeah, I did. I wasn't allowed in the VIP. That's how dumb the Chargers are. I wasn't allowed in the VIP section, but I was allowed to stand right next to the damn fence. So I was 1 foot away from the VIP section wearing Raider gear. I just wasn't allowed inside the fence area.
But that's the whole point. Like, you don't get to have the experience of being that one step over. You could be that close, but if you're going to come in that ugly silver and black, you don't get that 1 foot experience.
Yeah, and the view in the VIP was so much better than the view you had, Joe. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, it was so great. And then when the Chargers came over and signed for everybody, it was even better. Yeah, the Chargers treated their fans like shit and would just walk straight off the field. Didn't even say bye.
It was a long day of practice, okay? They were tired. They had to get to the bus and get to their team meetings. Every day, there's clips of these guys signing like a shit ton of autographs. Can't get upset at them over one day. And people did sign autographs. There was players signing autographs.
All right. I'm not going to sit here and listen to this slander from a Raiders fan.
And I ask again, why are the Raiders fans going to get Chargers autographs? I keep bringing it up, but no one responds to my question.
I just went there to Jake control you.
Yeah, it worked. Trust me.
And it worked. But anyways, preseason football's back. Training camp's back. A lot of things going on. Appreciate everybody that's in the comment section right now. Asher Bones. Is that his name, Bones?
Yeah, it's a new viewer, I think. What's up, Asher?
Welcome. Yeah, we got a bunch of comments. new people in here. I've never seen this person
I like
either.
that. I like that. I like the Buzz Lightyear in a suit. That's a nice one.
Yeah, that's a good thumbnail. I always appreciate a good thumbnail image there. Harrison, I saw you up there saying that the Chargers aren't making the playoffs. Like, come on. You got Mike over here backing the Panthers. You can't just pretend like that for us. Nick asking about the Steelers. This wasn't on the list, but we can do this one real quick. Steelers have any shot at winning the North? Nick asked. I think they do have a legit shot to win the North. Like, this is Kenny Pickett, second year. But the most important thing is I think the offensive line is going to be improved. If that's improved, maybe he gets a little more time to throw the football. Also, it's going to make Najee Harris that much better, which is what he needs. So if you can get that, they're having some good experience with another young running back. Plus, the guy, Jalen Warren, I think his name is, he popped last year too. And they got some nice gadgets. I like Freiermuth, the tight end, and you guys know how I feel about George Pickens. I think he's going to be top 10 wide receiver. He is phenomenal.
I'm calling it right now.
It's not Bones, it's Bones.
I'm calling it right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers will beat the 49ers week 1. I'm calling it right here on the show. Calling my shot. Biggest upset of week 1, Steelers over Niners in Pittsburgh.
No, I like that pick. I think it's in Pittsburgh, right? They got to travel. Yeah, it's not going to be pretty week 1 for a team that is juggling its QB situation as much as they have to.
And
we got over this, Mike, last night where we said the Niners start off slow, the Steelers start off. The Niners always start off slow, and the Steelers are going to win that game. I'm with you on that week 1, but yeah, I think the Steelers have improved. And if you go back and watch the second half of last year, the Steelers had one of the best teams the second half of the year last year.
Oh, great, Mike.
Yeah, if the Niners getting toasted by the Raiders at practice, I think George Pickens is going to have a lot of fun. And don't make fun of my sunburn, y'all. I'm going to wait until I have a good spot to make a good joke about it. Let's just pretend it's not there until I make that joke, please.
I didn't notice it at all. I did not notice it. And I will not blame Mike because you are a grown-up, Harrison. At least I think you are. You make your own decisions. And whatever Mike does, that's okay. And just for the record, I'm also picking Atlanta to win the NFC South. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'll say claiming that Mike's backing the Panthers, that's a very strong statement. I wouldn't say backing. Rooting for, that might be a word to use.
Like you ordered a Panthers jersey. Like you're rooting for the Panthers. Like you're backing them.
I do have a Cam jersey in my closet. You're right.
I will say that he is probably one of the most excited players for me to watch this opening. And it looks like Jonathan Mingo is already being named a starter there, which either says that this receiver acquisitions that they made is not working out or Jonathan Mingo's a stud. One of the two. Well, we're going to get to find out when the season kicks off in less than a month. Do you guys want to talk at all about your training camp experiences briefly, anything like that? Or do you want to just talk about sort of overall things that you guys have been hearing about in training camp, things you've been reading about? What would you like to do first?
Well, I don't want to talk about just one training camp. Well, we could talk about everything. If people want us to get into the in-depth of what we saw at Chargers or Rams, where else did we go? Wherever we went, if they want to get in depth, they can ask us in there because I know Mike and I haven't done a breakdown one for the Chargers yet, and I know why Mike doesn't want to do it, but it's all right.
All right. I don't know what kind of smoke you're throwing. What's he talking about, Mike?
I don't know. I enjoyed practice. I mean, at first for the Chargers practice, I was like a little bit down on the energy. It didn't feel like it was there especially defensively, but it picked up as the practice went on. And when I went back and watched the clips, and you get closer to the action on Twitter and on other stuff that the Chargers posted, I started to see like maybe I was just too far away from the practice to really feel what was going on over there. It just felt like I saw a few plays where a defender made a great play. And as a former DB and guy on defense, even if it's a mistake by the offense, you celebrate when you stop the offense almost every time. And it just wasn't there in the beginning of practice, but it really picked up. And the competition picked up later on in practice when Q1 just started flaming everybody. Q1 was cooking people more than the sun was cooking me that day. I mean, Q1 was up the sideline. See, I told you I'd get one in there. Q1 was up the sideline, over the middle, everywhere. And scoring touchdowns, too. They weren't just little baby passes.
Good.
The one clip I have of him, Mike, is where he missed it. It was a bad throw, but he still burned the defender on that play. I don't know if you saw that one real close to us where Johnson went up and he was burned. He had like 3 or 4 yards on the defender, and it was just a short throw.
I think I posted that. It was versus Asante Samuel Jr. It was a little bit of a short throw, but you got to give ASJ some credit too. Like, he was in position there to where it had to be a perfect throw over the top, in stride, reach the arms. I mean, it's just he forced it to be a perfect throw to complete it. He still only had like 3 yards of separation, and when the ball hit the air, he closed that in a blink. Quentin Johnston, 0. Sorry, we refer to him as Q1 because that's his number. But Quentin Johnston, the Chargers rookie who we drafted at 21st overall, who we were very excited to get.
Yeah, it's kind of you can't really use shorthand until he earns it, right? Like, we give these players nicknames as soon as they get drafted. They pick a jersey number, and we're just like, you just say it. It's like, that's not really, he's not known as that yet. So
I want to come up with something creative for Herbert eventually too, because I feel like all these quarterbacks get nicknames, right? Like Joe Shiesty has a nickname even. So why can't we get Lamar Action Jackson? We got to get Herbert one, and I want to be the guy to come up with it.
They already have. They created one a long time ago. It's called the GOAT.
Ooh.
Yeah, he'll have that nickname by the end of the year, Mike. Don't worry about it.
It came out years ago, Mike. You weren't there for it though.
You're going on forever.
All right, so I don't know what exactly what direction you guys want to head with training camp news, but I encourage anybody in the chat right here, if there's anything that you guys want to put out there, talk about, or hear our thoughts on it. I don't know about if that's a thing or not, but like, the one player that I was hoping would get a ton of buzz and that I'm extremely excited to watch, every time I read something about Zay Flowers, it feels like they talk about this guy like he is already the best wide receiver on the Ravens. Yeah. Is there another, like, are you guys reading this and getting this feeling too? Like, and is there a player that you're also excited about that you just, like, every time you read a report, you're like, oh man, this is going to be so much fun. I knew this guy was going to be a killer. Like, I really hope he plays a little bit in the preseason because I want to watch it. I
mean, Tank Dell's already showing out, Tony. That was fun to watch. That's a guy that me and you had our eyes on for the Chargers, possibly as a speedster they could target in the middle of the draft, possibly. But yeah, I like the shout outs that Zay Flowers is getting. I think Zay Flowers is going to be really good. I have the wherewithal, and I'm a huge OBJ fan. I'm not saying that OBJ is not going to have a great season. I just don't think the Ravens' game plan can be, let's give OBJ an extreme amount of volume. Maybe in the important spots, in the red zone, underneath work, stuff like that. I think that OBJ is going to get a lot of targets, and there's going to be weeks where, based off matchup, that he's fantasy relevant even. But I just don't think that the right strategy for that is to just come in and load him up with volume when he's been dealing with all these injuries and he's at the age he's at. He's got the tread on the tires that he has. I think that it's going to be Bateman or Flowers as the wide receiver one there in Baltimore, and they're both going so late in drafts that it's just making me a fan of them because I'm a big fantasy football guy.
Yeah, for sure, fantasy. It's one of those players where it's like, well, I'm going to definitely make this pick. And it's the same thing that I did with Chris Olave last year. Like, I was able to get him in a couple of leagues because he was still around in the 10th, 11th round of drafts.
Yeah, and I don't know about – I mean, I hear the same things you guys hear about Zay Flowers, and I kind of zone out Baltimore because I don't know why I do it, but I already told you, like, something in me makes me hate on Baltimore a lot more than everything else. So I kind of zone them out. The one thing that I want to talk about training camp is what was interesting that came out a couple days ago, and now people have started to back him, is what came out of Washington camp about Eric Bieniemy, about how players are saying he's a little too tough on him. And even Ron Rivera, the head coach, kind of threw him out under. Like, what's up with Ron Rivera? Like, this is like the second time where he just, like, he go to the press conference, he just throws some random stuff out there where it's like it turns people against his team or it's bad. But I like the love that Eric Bieniemy is getting from current players and former players, saying that, hey, he only cares about you, and he's just an intense coach that gets in your face. And it makes me remember those old school coaches, I guess, that you would do it. But maybe the new generation isn't liking it. But Eric Bieniemy getting a lot of mixed reactions this week. Have you guys been seeing that?
It all depends, Joe. And I never made it to that level. I didn't even make it to the college level. But as far as my experience playing football, and having a bunch of different style coaches, both hard asses and super player friendly coaches, where you almost think that they are a player. It all matters whether you're right or not. From there, your temperament, your mood, if you're a hard nose like Bill Belichick or super loose and having a blast like Mike McDaniel, all that matters is that you're right. And if you're right, the players will respect that and they will love you. But if you're wrong and you're a hard ass, or you're wrong and you're a player's coach and you're too nice to everybody, that's when it becomes an issue. And that's when you lose the respect of the team. And the team basically is kind of just shoulder shrugging anytime you say anything to them.
For me, it's more about winning, right? If they win, it's going to be fine. It's going to be all love. Because if the idea is that he's coaching you too hard or whatever, like, what was the opposite? The opposite was you had a player-friendly coach and your offense was terrible and holding back your team from winning, because the Washington defense has been loaded. Like, we talk a lot about teams that draft really well. Like, they have so many defensive linemen, they're going to let Chase Young walk away, or at the very least have to pay him a large sum of money if he does live up to the top 3 potential pick that he was made at. So, like, they've drafted so well that at least the front 7 have played pretty well. They need the offense to click, and that was the guy who was supposed to bring them here to do it. My thing is, like, you're playing a super demanding game, then get used to, like, being yelled at should be way better than getting hit by I'm blanking on the defensive lineman's name they just signed. They just gave him a big, huge deal.
Jonathan Allen?
Jonathan Allen.
Yeah.
I'd rather get yelled at by Eric Bieniemy than get hit by Jonathan Allen. Like, it's way worse to get crushed by that guy than for Eric Bieniemy to be mad at me for something. Like, that's another thing where it's like, I'm not constantly being praised for everything. Like, you're supposed to be learning, and sometimes people are going to say some shitty things to you. Just get over it and move on. You should take it personally, internalize it. Like, yearn for praise. Don't just expect it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant by saying he's right, that they win. It's that simple. I mean, look at last year's coaches in the Super Bowl. I would consider both those guys almost perfect at tweening the line between, that coach that's no nonsense, it's all about business, but also is having a blast with his players. And I bet Nick Sirianni has probably learned a lot, being the Eagles coach, from what they say about Andy Reid as the Eagles coach. And I think both those guys are tilting that line kind of perfectly there. And they both made it to the Super Bowl last year. And it's a great example. And the players have, the utmost respect for Andy Reid. And it looks like they have a lot of respect for Sirianni in Philly. It seems like he'd be a blast to play football under. So it all just depends on success. That's really what matters, more so than whether you're a hard nose or not. Your path to success is your path to success, and the players will respect that when the success is there. So if they come out and Sam Howell's cooking and Terry McLaurin has an amazing season, and even Logan Thomas stays healthy and he has a great year, the running backs are going off, come next offseason, Eric Bieniemy's going to be the head coach, and they're going to have no problem with it.
I agree. I will say one last thing about this. I think that when he came out to defend himself, he kind of gave me Hugh Jackson vibes. Like, I think that press conference he did may have killed a real chance with ownership to have a head coach opportunity, because he was speaking about himself in the third person a lot. Eric Bieniemy is this. Eric Bieniemy is this kind of guy. Eric Bieniemy does these things. It's like, dude, why are you referencing yourself in the third person so much? Like, you could just say, this is who I am. This is what I do. Everybody, like, why are you saying your name over and over again? Like, do you want people to be more familiar with who you are? Because I feel like you became a front page story because of this coaching style that you had. Like, it just came off very weird, almost, I don't know. I watched it and I was like, I don't know that they're not going to want to see, him talking to other fellow coaches going, hey, this is Eric Bieniemy. This is how he does things. Eric Bieniemy, when you're head coach, you can do that. But Eric Bieniemy coaches like this. You remember that moment with Hugh Jackson where he's like, when you're head coach, you can run it how you want to do it, but I'm in the big chair. It was very cringy feeling, that Hard Knocks moment. And I got a same feeling from the interview where I was like, dude, like, I don't know. You could just say like, hey, I'm not going to apologize for the way that I coach. It gets results. Get out of here with this Raiders nonsense.
Tony, I don't know how you kept continuing to talk about that Eric Bieniemy issue when Mike was just shoving a big like mustard sandwich into his face the whole time. I don't know if you saw that. It was nothing but mustard into Mike's face.
First of all, who the fuck has a mustard sandwich? This is an egg sandwich, and it's delicious. Okay, no one eats mustard sandwich. I didn't know that was a thing. Second of all,
whatever it was yellow.
Joe speaks to himself in the third person all the time, and we don't ever bring it up.
I was gonna say Eric Bieniemy is kind of like me. Like I'm annoying, but when you guys want to work with Joe Morley, you guys know he's bringing the facts each and every week. So you got to put up with Joe Morley every week. So Joe Morley is an asset to MJT every day, and that's why you hang out with Joe Morley.
Our wide receiver.
But yeah, Asher, just hit the subscribe button. But I don't need another kid. I can't be your dad. I don't want to pay child support. I'm all about that. I like keeping my money. Got enough kids as it is.
Tune in Saturday to that wide receiver show, y'all, for Joe's facts.
So I don't recall Joe speaking in the third person very often, but also Joe's not a head coach. Like Joe's not leading anything with this program. So if Joe wants to be that guy, that's fine. But if you're going to be the head coach of a football team, I just thought that could have been a little bit less cringy for me, at least. Joker, I missed you at camp. I was with my wife and my children. And also, I don't really know what you look like. I can kind of see your thumbnail, but I'm not going to like base this loose image of a photo that could be like 5 years old and just walk up to everybody and be like, Joker? Like
Joker! That's what you should have done, Tony.
And there was also like 6,000 people there. For all the people who say that there's no Chargers fans, that place was packed everywhere. So there was a lot of people.
For a similar turnout at the scrimmage. So, Joker, if you're going tonight, I'll see you there.
Sweet.
It's not a mustard sandwich, Brian. Let's move on to the next topic. Next topic.
So, okay.
A lot of Harrison. I like that Justin Houston signing. It kind of got snuck in there when Justin Houston went there because a lot of veterans signed the same day. Like Miles Jack signed a 1-year deal with the Eagles. He went up there. What's his name? Jalen Smith signed a 1-year deal with the Saints. So there was a couple moves that same day that people kind of got snuck in. But I don't know. We'll see if Justin Houston has a lot left in him. But Carolina just trying to do something right now. Chargers paid people to show up.
I really come on, Brian. Come on, bro. I really like the Justin Houston signing, Harrison. I think it's really good because the strength of Carolina is their defense. Like a lot of people are saying that Carolina's not good or not a good team, but if they're going to win games this year, I think it's going to be on the strength of their defense, having maybe cleaning up some short area. Instead of giving up 7, they give up 3 on a turnover from the offense. Young guy makes a turnover in his own end, and that defense is going to be able to keep games closer, potentially make turnovers. And it's going to help if you have somebody else helping Brian Burns, who I think is the most underrated pass rusher. He's not the best. I wouldn't put him in the top 5, 7 pass rushers. But as far as people we forget when we talk about pass rushers, he always feels like somebody we overlook.
And more that the league gets pass heavy, more and more we're seeing these teams try and counteract it with just really deep pass rush rooms. And they're trying to build these pass rushes where on third down, you're basically going against 3 straight line pass rushers. They're no longer worried about the run on 3rd and 7 anymore. They're bringing in Justin Houston, Brian Burns, Derek Brown. Like all the pass rushers are going to come in for that one down. And it's been effective, especially for Philly last year. It was very effective.
Well, so this is one thing I want to talk about today was every team, every fan base at least seems to be saying the same thing. We don't have offensive line depth. And I don't think necessarily that offensive linemen are getting any worse than they have been in the past. Like, it's not like there's a shortage of them. It's that these defensive ends are getting so athletic. They're essentially wide receivers and tight ends that just focused on playing defensive football And now you have all of these athletes that are 6'4" to 6'6" and run 4.3 40s, and they work year round on pass moves and use of their hands. And the way that defensive coordinators are running these guys on stunts, like last night in that game, Derek Hall doesn't have a lot of pass moves, and he's one of my favorite players in the draft. They ran him on a stunt and took him from the 5, and he came basically the 1 or the 0 gap and just annihilated. Ended up getting a penalty on the play because he landed on the quarterback. But that is a way that you get your athletes loose. And that's not what are you going to do if you're an offensive lineman and the person standing in front of you is 6 times more athletic than you? There's not a lot of guys that are going to be able to match the athleticism of the Bosas, of Myles Garrett, of TJ Watt, of Micah Parsons, of Aaron Donald. You just can't do that. You're not going to be able to find 8 people deep. It's like a weird thing where they're like, Foster Sarrell isn't any good at tackle, or there's Dwayne Brown might not be good enough for the Jets. It's like, no shit, these guys might not be able to block the most athletic players on the field that are built like, SUVs, and then they perform like Ferraris. You can't stop that.
This is why I keep telling people, don't underrate a quarterback upgrade and what it does for the offensive line as far as getting those pass protections called at the line. Figuring out when they're going to stunt, figuring out when they're going to blitz. For example, maybe in a line that can improve a lot this year, the New York O-line. Maybe. Just throwing it out there.
I definitely agree with that, and I'll just say this. I was looking at the Bucs roster the other day, and it's crazy. Baker Mayfield should be able to perform well with this team. He should, but something tells me he won't. And you look at, everybody talks about how great Tristan Wirfs is. I think Tristan Wirfs is going to have his hands full when you go from blocking for Tom Brady to blocking for Baker Mayfield. It's going to be more sacks, more pressures given up. Ball's not going to be out as quick. The right adjustments might not be made in that scenario. But Mike, you're 1,000% right. When a quarterback becomes the smartest person on the field and is essentially a coach and one of the best players, your offensive line, your wide receivers, everything elevates to a new level.
Hey, I want to give a shout out. Since we're talking about linemen, last night in the preseason game, early in the game, Blake Brandel, I think is his name, number 64 for the Minnesota Vikings, made a perfect block. And I texted you guys this. Yeah. He made a perfect read where he came off and hit the defender right at the same time that it would have been a straight sack and probably a safety in the back in the end zone. If you go back and watch that, it was early in the game, but what a perfect read for an offensive lineman to see the guy coming and break off the double team and hit that guy at a perfect time. Or else, who was it last night? Nick Mullins? Is that who it was? He would have took a big hit. He would have taken a big hit in the end zone for a safety.
They say that there's a beauty to the sport of boxing. There's a beauty to the sport of football too. Stuff like that. It just works perfect timing.
Yeah. It was good block. I don't know. I think he's like a second string lineman, but he did his job on that play. A couple of good things out there. But yeah, if you guys are new to the program, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That's all we ask. Why we talk and have fun here. What else was I going to bring up, Tony? CJ Stroud last night. CJ Stroud was one of my favorite quarterbacks, or it was my favorite quarterback coming out of this draft. But last night disappointed me.
Yep, it's a first action, and it's Belichick, and I get that it's a lot of backups playing, but that's going to be tough. Bill's out there trying to rough up anybody who gets in his way, and it's one series. It's going to be a rough year, and this is why the Will Anderson draft trade is going to look so bad, because CJ Stroud probably is the third best QB on that roster right now. But you have to start your future. You have to get him reps, even though Davis Mills could probably lead them to 5 or 6 wins with this coaching staff and the upgrades that they've had. They'd be way better off with Davis Mills over CJ Stroud trying to learn. But instead, they're going to be a 2-14 team, and Arizona Cardinals are going to be drafting 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Will Anderson needs to be like a top 5 edge rusher in the league for that to really have made a ton of sense, because your team's not going to be great. So you would have had another top 5 pick next year. You could have taken the best edge rusher. You could have done it without having to cough up anything. So we'll see how it ages. Will Anderson, literally, for D'Amico Ryans, Will Anderson needs to be that dude. He needs to be a beast. And it's possible. He has that kind of talent, but, it's a risk. It doesn't always work out that way. We've seen so many guys in the top 5 just still be good, just not quite reach that top 5 level, especially for you to trade other first-round picks to move up to get him.
And to be honest, Mike, I didn't even know if he played in the game last night.
I don't think so. Or if he did, it was just he didn't do anything. Yeah,
I don't remember if he did either.
Exactly.
But
I will say,
I wasn't.
I will say about CJ. I think it is an overreaction too. I think we're going a little crazy on him. I mean, they got him, and honestly, he had some good movement in the pocket and other plays in the game, but they got him good. He actually made the right throw at the pre-snap read. When they came out, and this is my football nerd in me, it came out in a cover 4 look. So he thought that was going to be a huge hole in between the linebacker, and I believe it was 2nd and long, so it would have been closer to the sticks too to set up a 3rd and short. He thought there was going to be a huge hole right there in between the safety and the linebacker, but then, once the ball snapped, it wasn't cover 4. It was cover 3, and that safety was Robin, which means he just picks up whoever is his first threat, which happens to be the exact guy that he stepped back and threw the ball to, and it just looked ugly. But don't think that he just stepped back and just threw that thing straight at Jalen Mills. He got fooled on that play. It was a welcome to the NFL moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, but go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm not. I was saying it was a little bit disappointing because I wanted him to come out and light it up. That's just me personally. But like you said, Tony, he was playing the Patriots, a team that he probably grew up watching and watching Bill Belichick, and had that little nervous coming out there. Like, people can be like, well, they're NFL players. They're not nervous. Yes, they are when they go out there, the first game. And I think it's going to be – this preseason is a good setup for C.J. Stroud because guess who he's playing next week? Vic Fangio on the defense over there in Miami. So he's going to learn quickly some of these schemes, and maybe it's a good thing that he's getting this out of his system, seeing some of these they're not going 100% of their game plan in the preseason, but he's getting to see some top defensive play callers in the league early in the preseason.
Nico Collins ran over another rookie too. Christian Gonzalez got trucked on his first play of his career, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he made the tackle though. That's what you gotta.
All that matters.
Yeah, you gotta love that. Even if it means he just tripped on my face mask after he ran me over, I'm getting credit for that tackle. If you play in IDP leagues, Christian Gonzalez's face mask got you some points last night. You gave me a good transition to something I want to talk about in Vic Fangio and the Dolphins, because Christian Wilkins. It's like sometimes I'll read the reports. It's another player that I had on my list. I put 3 players on. Zay Flowers already talked about. Christian Wilkins was on there. They're talking about sometimes where he's the best player on the field, on a field that has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on it, and at how destructive he is. He's one of those guys that I think we are getting. There is a lot of great interior play right now, and it just kind of gets shadowed behind the top 2 or 3 guys. But if you go even with Harrison's Derek Brown, interior guy there, Dexter Lawrence started to pop last year. Like, there's a lot of interior defensive players, and I think Wilkins this year has a chance, if the Dolphins defense plays that way, where he joins that group. So the Dolphins have a chance to give him a contract, and I think they'd be better off signing him before this season as opposed to trying to sign him after this season, because it could get to a franchise tag situation. Like, it could get ugly, and it could cost them more money if they don't just sign that kid right now.
Well, I'm willing to bet after the matchup last year, Tony, the Chargers are preparing to play Miami week 1, that's who Staley's probably talking about most. Like, this guy gave us the most fits in that game, and I've always known he was a beast, but he especially dominated that week, and I was watching more closely the rest of the season, and he just was phenomenal. So I like to see it, and I don't root against the Dolphins. A lot of fans think that I'm rooting against the Dolphins. I want them to fail. I'm only rooting against them when they play us. Other than that, I like all those guys in Miami. I like Mike McDaniel. I think that they have a chance to be a contender this year in the AFC as long as Tua can stay healthy. Go ahead, Joe. Give your thoughts, man. The chat is just going crazy right now for you, and I feel like we should just let you do the whole podcast, and we'll just.
All these Raider fans in there. I love
Raiders that much. I'm signing out, and he can have the rest of the show.
I'm loving it right now. But I was going to say, Mike,
it's going to be 4-12 or 13 this year.
So much hate from you guys that you guys are just blinded by the Raider hatred that you can't see a great team in Las Vegas. But it's okay. I want to talk about the Dolphins just a little bit because Vic Fangio, I don't think people understand how much of an impact Vic Fangio is really going to make. We talked about it before, but you could – what, Jalen Phillips? Are we just not going to forget? We're going to forget about him. He should have a better year this year. The guy that we've always talked about, Javon Holland. They're going to make some big noise down there. And like I was talking to some Buffalo Bills fans, where Buffalo Bills fans are like, "Oh, we're going to win that division easily." I don't know. I don't know if you're going to do that anymore. You got a lot of good competition in that AFC East, and just we could write the Patriots off and say the Patriots aren't the best team, but the Patriots are not going to just be a slouches with Belichick as their defensive coach. So Buffalo Bills have had their little reign where they had their little window. They could have won this division and went and did some great things. But I think that window has closed on the Buffalo Bills because these teams are getting better. And we just got to see if Tua can stay healthy. But I think that defense, we're gonna hear a lot of big names from that defense by the end of this year. A lot of these like mid names or mid-level talent names that you hear about, they're going to be big-time stars at the end of this year.
Ethan, I will be absolutely crushed if Josh Palmer signs with the Raiders. I will be destroyed. He put in the thing, bring Josh Palmer to the silver and black. I'll be destroyed. I won't be able to handle it.
In a perfect position, Tony, to take a team-friendly deal here in a couple of years, and that's going to be the future of our receiving corps. Palmer, Quentin Johnson, and then, whoever else. I think Keenan Allen will probably still be on the team for a few more years, but past that, we'll keep it going. And maybe Mike Williams.
Next year, I think next summer that he'll be his agent, if it's smart, he'll be trying to negotiate something because he'll be headed into year 4.
That's what I was about to say. So, good test for that defense, Joe, week 1. Chargers got a lot of guys to throw at the secondary, and Justin Herbert is the best quarterbacks in the league in the pocket, so the pass rush isn't going to affect him too much. So they're going to have to cover, and we'll see how they do without Jalen Ramsey.
And I'll give you credit, Mike. When we were at a Chargers camp, that offense looked unbelievable. That offense looked ready to go. It looked good. They were moving up and down the field. And I turned to Jay. I was talking to Jay, and I was like, hey, I don't know if the offense is just unbelievably good or if that defense sucks or if it's just both. I go, because that offense, no matter what wide receiver, Palmer was making great catches out there. Like you said, Johnston was making great catches. They were going up and down and making moves. And so I was impressed with that offense. But the only thing I noticed about the Chargers offense is they didn't have the depth on the offensive line like always.
Yeah, but that's what we talked about before it's every fan base is talking about the concerns of the depth with their offensive line, and especially more so the tackles. But you're going to get that. You're going to get a drop off, and they're not going to show you in preseason or in practice adjustments they're going to make to chip with backs or tight ends or whatever, to be giving up game plan, to be giving ideas, to be like, oh, well, this is how they're going to help with this protection. They're not. No coach is that dumb. They're going to play things pretty basic for all of it.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody out there, and they were like, well, I didn't get to see this and that. I go, what they're showing us at training camp is not what they're showing when they practice together somewhere else. I go, when they practice 2 hours in front of fans, they're not running their whole game plan because they don't want you to see that. They know people are out there with cameras. They don't need that going out there anywhere. So, yeah, Mike. I mean, it's not just you, but there's people out there, and reporters are reporting. Like, some of these beat writers are trying to get the scoop on everything. It's like, come on, just let some of this go.
I'm just saying, if Josh McDaniels needs some film on the Cowboys, I got him. He can definitely hit me up. I got the entire practice in my phone right now. I have no problem sending that to you for a small fee, Josh McDaniels, and then I'm going to snitch on his ass.
Somebody's asking, Ethan, you don't want to know. They're going to tell you that Tillery's bad. I think Tillery, since he's gone over the Raiders, has changed a little bit, and he's helping the Raiders' defensive line. He might not have helped with the Chargers, but he's helping with the Raiders. So I like Tillery over there. You guys think the Chiefs go back-to-back? Somebody's asking.
I want to talk about Tillery real quick because I don't think –
and then you just –
and I think Tillery's a good player, and I think if used correctly, he can be successful in this league. He's really big and really athletic, and I think what he was being asked to do was just not a good fit. Now, do I want him to reach his potential for the Raiders? Fuck no. No, I don't. I want him to continue to be as ineffective as he was for the Chargers. But that doesn't mean that he's not talented. He was a first-round pick for a reason. Like, he's got ability. And if his work ethic actually matches the ability, yeah, he could be a hell of a player.
And I was going to say his issues are tiny. Like, his issues are literally he just comes up too high on rundowns. I mean, he pass rushes high, which works for him. It's just when, you're going against a run play, now all of a sudden you're too high and you just get washed out the play. That's the biggest thing with us. And our run defense, I don't know if you remember, Joe, was awful. So, of course, Chargers fans are going to echo, that this guy that's starting on our defense for multiple years, the run defense is awful, that they hate Jerry Tillery. He's a good player. He's a great pass rusher. It's just certain parts of his game that he needed to fix. It just didn't happen in time. And in our scheme, specifically the Chargers scheme, those two D linemen in the middle of the field are kind of like on their own. They're kind of shit out of luck if they can't handle their own.
Yeah, and Tillery did make one bad mistake when he came over the Raiders when he knocked the ball out of
that was the greatest play he's ever made, Joe. Greatest play he's ever done. Frank, I love it. Mafia still going strong. And as long as they have Josh Allen upright, they're still going to be there. I do think that AFC East is so competitive. I don't think anybody can sweep it now. Here's the thing that bothers me so much about it is that all of the teams in the AFC East were garbage for like 2 decades, and then Tom Brady leaves, and now all of a sudden they all want to be competitive? Like, what is this nonsense? Like, don't start running your teams well after you allowed Tom Brady to become the greatest quarterback of all time.
They realized all that time, Tony, there was nothing they could do. But now that he's gone, it's a huge opportunity.
So annoying. I look at it, I'm like, this division is loaded, but for years, that division, you would look at it and you'd be like, there's no talent. There's like not there's no talent, but there's no threat. There was never a threat to them, ever.
I can't wait until the stun the Bills first Monday night.
I don't hope injury on anybody, but I hope Milano does fold Rodgers. Let me get into this. This is something I texted you. I don't know if you guys have watched Hard Knocks yet. Have you watched Hard Knocks, Tony?
I did watch it. Yeah, I didn't know if you guys wanted to talk about it or not. I did.
Holy crap. The NFL is trying to reverse the feeling about Aaron Rodgers or something like that, because that whole love fest for Aaron Rodgers had me puking the whole damn time. And I was like, oh my God, that's an amazing throw. Look at that throw. Get that shit out of here. I'm tired of that Aaron Rodgers love. You already know Aaron Rodgers is only doing it because he has all these new people. And look, he loves the attention that he's getting in that camp. But come on.
They literally denied Hard Knocks. They tried to lock him outside. What do you mean he wanted them to come in?
Aaron Rodgers himself invited the voice of God to training camp. He's doing that. He acting like he doesn't like the cameras around. This motherfucker loves it.
So he lost the gate and they jumped the fence.
Here's the thing, and Aaron Rodgers is smart. He is endearing himself to a new team, a fan base. He's feeding into the machine. Like, you cannot forget that this is still a massive part is entertainment, right? Like, and he's in New York, and this is what he's going to live it up. Because if this goes bad, like let's say the Jets are a 5-win team by like November, it is going to be they are going to crush him. We're all going to talk about how bad this was, what a bust, how disappointing this is. Robert Saleh should be fired. We're going to talk all this nasty stuff. Like right now, they literally are in the honeymoon phase of this relationship where everything is great. Everybody is fantastic. And if you get a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, what are you going to coach him? There's nobody in that building that has the trophy case that he has. So you're going to get in there? Like Eric Bieniemy's style with him would not work at all. Like it would not. You cannot fly that way, because that is part of the reason that he loves Nathaniel Hackett so much is Nathaniel Hackett treats him like we all want to be treated. You know, like he just loves him. Oh, this guy can't do anything. When he shits, it smells like roses. You want that person in your life. Like that's why he loves Hackett so much. And it's going to work out. The Jets are going to be good. I was looking at the sideline. Like Corey Davis is just laying up as like wide receiver 5 on this team. That's stupid. Like you can't have that much talent on one team. I don't like it. I'm not liking where the Jets are headed right now.
You're not liking it in a way that it's competition for the Chargers, right?
Yeah, it's complimentary to them. Like I'm not a fan of them having all this talent because even their third and fourth and fifth pass rushers are all guys that might not have a ton of moves, but they are super athletic. Like they could just rush upfield and I think a good coach is going to have to study and say, hey, when we see Huff and McDonald, if they're ever on the field at the same time, if they are outside and streaking up the field, we need to run a draw, like right at whichever one of these guys is most aggressive. Just run a draw right behind him and try and gash him for some yards. But if you try and pass and you drop back, you could Jermaine Johnson. I don't like it, Mike. I don't like it at all.
This conversation has Dennis Green written all over it, Tony. All over it. If you want to crown him, crown him, Tony.
No,
let me tell you, New York Football Jets, the Jets, no, they're not even the best team in their division. They're not even the best team in the division.
And you can't even defend that.
Who's running the ball for him?
Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook.
When?
Dalvin Cook like a week ago. Now he's a Jet. Now he sucks.
When is Breece Hall running the ball for him?
Week 3, around there. Week 4.
That's not an easy injury to come back.
Oh, Michael Carter too. Michael Carter's a 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL too.
Israel Abanikanda, the rookie from Pittsburgh, will rush for 1,200 yards with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
Jets missed the playoffs this year. How about that? I'll just say it right now. Jets are going to not be a playoff team.
I'm just saying that this is a lot more like Brady to the Bucs than it is Russ to the Broncos. I'm just calling it right now. I think that they're going to be good at least, at very minimum. They're going to be really good. The ironic part about all this coach talk, too, if Nathaniel Hackett was the head coach of the 49ers, Rodgers would have went to the 49ers. He doesn't want to work with Shanahan. Isn't that ironic that Shanahan is such a good coach? He carries a lot of these offensive schemes and gets these offenses good no matter what quarterback's there. But at the same time, quarterbacks don't want to go there and work with them. It's twisted. It's all crazy.
So the reason why that's so different is Russ went there and he had to try and figure out something in one season with Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers already have 2 MVP seasons working together, and they're fitting all of these other players into what Aaron Rodgers does. Even in that Hard Knocks episode, you all saw them like drooling over a throw. Aaron Rodgers is the only guy in the world that could make that throw. Really? Because Herbert does that every other week. Josh Allen does that every other week in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes does that every other week in the NFL. But they have to say that, oh, that's our guy. That's our quarterback. It's not like
they're talking to their own defense, Tony. Like also, that's the only guy who can beat us.
In games, Aaron Rodgers will not make that throw because he is afraid to throw interceptions because the last thing he ever wants to be compared to is Brett Favre, which is crazy that he went to the New York Jets.
Yeah, I know, right? That just lines it up perfectly. But everyone is saying the exact same stuff, Brian, about Rodgers to the Jets that they did when Brady went to the Bucs. I'm just saying, almost the exact same narrative Brady had, not as bad of last year, but kind of like a it's over year with New England on his way to Tampa. Everyone's like, is he going to be able to do it? Had a bunch of guys around him, a bunch of talent around him just like this, and it just took him back to a level that he needed to be at to go to the Super Bowl. I am not saying I think the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl because I don't think that they are experienced enough to go blow for blow in the AFC, but I think they're going to compete for that division, and they're going to be at worst be a wild card team. I think they're going to win 11 games or 10 games, and if everything goes perfectly and Breece Hall is really healthy, they can even win 12.
Ethan, thank you. You're making me laugh over here. I really appreciate that. Let me ask you guys this question for the chat too. If we took one of these other quarterbacks that's sort of like we consider mid-tier, the Geno Smith, Cousins, Goff, if we give them a full offseason to go to this Bucs team currently constructed right now, we'd all have them as like a playoff team in the NFC, correct? Like Kirk Cousins on this Bucs team with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Rashad White at running back. I liked what I saw from K-Dot at tight end last year. And then the defense still has a ton of talent. And the offense, and you have Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen. You get all of that. If you gave them Kirk Cousins, we'd be like, this is a playoff team. This is essentially the Vikings from a year ago. Like we would be looking at this team going, oh, that Bucs team will win 11 games. But we don't feel that way because it's Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Like the Jets are getting that same treatment, like you're saying, with Brady when he went to the Bucs. Like that team really is a quarterback away from being a contender. And that's what the Jets got.
Well,
now you don't like Baker Mayfield, Tony? Now you don't like Baker Mayfield when you gave me this for Christmas? Huh? Now you don't like Baker Mayfield?
I have the ability to separate two things. I love Baker Mayfield. He's extremely entertaining. I said this on Mike's Live on TikTok last night, NFL Mike on TikTok. I'm sure most of you see him over there and follow him. But I said this last night. Baker Mayfield is going to retire and be one of the most entertaining college football analysts, bonging beers in the pregame show on Fox and taking his shirt off and running around. Like, Baker Mayfield's an entertainer. And he really had a shot with Cleveland. And Cleveland has a shot this year to do the things that I was talking about Cleveland doing 2 years ago if Deshaun Watson is just even 75% of the quarterback he used to be. Like, that's how good the Cleveland Browns roster still is, even with a bloated contract at quarterback.
Yeah, they say Deshaun Watson's cooking in camp right now. We'll see what he does in this preseason game today. But yeah, Brian, he's saying the Bucs defense is a big part of the Super Bowl. Completely agree with that. What's your thoughts on the Jets defense, buddy?
All right, since we're talking about quarterbacks, let's move into the next topic. And Mike's going to love this one. 49ers, we all saw what the 49ers did last year against the Eagles. Now it's coming out that they had a call to Phillip Rivers where if they would have beat the Eagles, Phillip Rivers would have been the starting quarterback for the 49ers in the Super Bowl of that game. So do you guys think, and we're talking about it now, do you think Phillip Rivers would have been able to come and lead the 49ers to a Super Bowl victory or even be good in that game against the Chiefs when they play in the Super Bowl? Like, I just think it's weird that they made that phone call to Phillip Rivers and had him ready to go.
Yeah. More details are coming out, too, about this. So, originally, I would have said, that's crazy talk. I don't think he would have stood any chance against the Chiefs. But more details are coming out that when they got into the playoffs, they started to see, like, their depth chart and who they were rocking with. They got him the playbook. They got him working out. He was getting in shape in case they lost their quarterback weeks ahead of them losing their quarterback. So, in that case, I do think Phillip Rivers would have had a chance in that game. But can you guys imagine the only Super Bowl I've ever gone to, and I have to watch Patrick Mahomes step on the throat of my idol one more time? Can you guys imagine if I had to witness that in person one last time? The only Super Bowl ever. I mean, I would have been honored. I would have been way more excited than watching what I watched because it happened anyways. But, man, I probably would have been like 10 times, 100 times, million times amount heartbroken if the Niners would have lost that game.
You definitely would have, for sure, but it would have been an experience like we've never seen or had or whatever. Like, it would have been absolutely incredible. So I don't know the story, and I'm glad Mike filled that part in for me because I felt like people were missing a big chunk. What I was always suspecting was when Trey goes down and Jimmy's there and Brock's there, I think that there's probably a conversation at a certain point where Kyle Shanahan reaches out and says, hey, Phil, what do you got in the tank? And then when Jimmy gets injured and it's Brock's time, he says, hey, we've got this kid, but we still have a shot. Keep your head in the playbook. Keep you familiar with us. Keep watching film on what we're doing. But we're going to give this kid Brock a shot to play a couple of games. But if not, we might bring you in week 13 or 14. So I think he was familiar with a lot of shit that was going on through the whole year. So he wouldn't have come in completely cold. But the idea that a guy who had been removed from football, I don't care. Phillip Rivers is one of the smartest quarterbacks I ever watched. He's on that sort of like right below Peyton Manning level of just diagnosis. Like some of the stuff Rivers used to do when he would come to the line and he would just be like, you think that's going to work? And he'd call it the play and the defense would look at each other and be like, well, what he knows, should we still do it? Even though he knows, so we're going to do it. It would have been a nightmare to go and play on 2 weeks notice in a Super Bowl for Phil. Even if he's getting easy passes to CMC, easy passes to Debo. Like, it would have been one of the greatest performances ever if he pulls that off. But I just don't think it would have happened.
That would have locked his Hall of Fame spot for sure. But yeah. I will say also just him living through that too would have been probably just such an awesome thing for him to just live through that experience of actually making it and being on the team and going through the media week and wearing that patch on the jersey in front of the fans that were there. We were going crazy, by the way. You know, the Niner fans would have showed out if he would have gotten them there. I will ask this, though. What does Phillip Rivers have left in the tank? Because If that was their option last year, what's their option this year when it all goes wrong again at the quarterback position?
Well, that wasn't it, Mike. Remember, they also called Big Ben. So Big Ben has also came out and said they called him. Phillip Rivers, it just seems like they went further with Phillip Rivers than Big Ben. But Phillip Rivers, I mean, is he now just going to be that guy that they call? Like, if somebody goes down this year, they're going to call him like, hey, you were thinking about coming back last year. Come on back this year.
Please.
Come on. Like, how many years removed from the game? You saw the rust in Deshaun Watson. There's when people take a year or two off, this rust starts to hit them. I'm not making that phone call if I'm a GM.
So in this situation, Joe, in San Francisco, Rivers doesn't need to do what Deshaun Watson needs to do for Cleveland. Rivers needs to hand the ball off and throw a slant, throw a seam to Kittle, hand the ball off, throw a slant to IU.
Or the 49ers' best wide receiver, Brandon.
All done for the quarterback in that offense. Rivers just needs to make the checks at the line, make sure they don't false start.
So here's what I think is, if they were really serious about it, they should have brought him in right after the Jimmy G injury. And they should have said, hey, we're going to let Brock play because he's prepared for this week or whatever, but we're bringing in Phil. We're working him up to speed. He'll be our backup for this game. And then going forward, we'll try to work him in as the starter and keep this rookie as our backup because he's been here the whole year.
Yeah.
So I think that it was only because they had gone through 4 QBs at that point. Like that's why we're talking about it. It's also just that time of year where, hey, this is a fun story. It didn't happen, but this thing could have happened or whatever. And I'll say this lastly about the veteran quarterbacks. It's not that they lose their abilities. It's that they lose the ability to want to get smashed in the face at a certain, because they're still smart. Phillip Rivers has seen every defense, every coverage, every look. So he's not going to be fooled. It's not like technically Sam Darnold has more like athletic ability and whatever there, but he doesn't have what's in Phillip Rivers' mind. So you can't get the same play. Josh Johnson doesn't have the same knowledge and experience that somebody who plays 17 years and puts together a Hall of Fame career for my boy Ethan in the comments. I will not put it down. Don't tell me how to live my life.
Don't disrespect Phillip Rivers like that, y'all. But yeah, that's a good take, Tony. He knows from experience. In order to play in the NFL, you will take a certain amount of hits. It's guaranteed. There is no ifs, ands, buts. Doesn't matter if you got 5 Trent Williams in front of you. It's not going to matter. You're going to get hit a couple times in a game.
Absolutely. And it hurts.
Even if they lost the game, it would have been such a good time. It would have been way better than what we got with the slippery field and the rigged Super Bowl and all the shit that happened.
I saw a good meme the other day. It said, I wonder if the Eagles' defensive line thought the field was slippery when they had a 10-point lead.
It is funny because sometimes when they talk about, like when you hear people talk about it, they act as if the Chiefs didn't have to go out there and play defense on the field too. Like it wasn't just the Eagles who played defense on that field. And
no, it wasn't slippery then.
Yeah, exactly. They put less paint on the field in the spots where they were playing or whatever the problem was.
Let's throw the slippery field thing out. How about that last call? Clearly, someone made the earpiece like, hey, man, throw the flag, throw the flag, throw the flag. And the ref goes, what's the flag for?
I really wish that flag was not thrown because to me, it was one of those things where it was clearly by the letter of the law a real thing, but it wasn't. It shouldn't have been thrown.
If anything, it would have just been a more exciting finish because he still would have kicked the field goal. They still were in range, but we would have had like a minute 20 for the Eagles to try and respond.
Yeah, for Hurts to go on the field and try to drive on it, it would have been an interesting inning to the game. Yes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Kool-Aid Man would have came out and tackled him when he's on the 1-yard line or some crazy shit. I promise.
Yeah.
Or the Buffalo Wild Wings would have hit the sprinkler.
The Buffalo Wild Wings commercials. Have you seen those ones?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they hit and the little sprinkler pops up and trips the wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that could have happened.
Yeah. The ref is like, oh, I just clotheslined somebody. Like, bro, why are you yawning? This is the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl. Hey, there's one last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here because we hit the hour mark. I don't want to burn these people out on us. I would like them to come back and be part of the conversation.
What is it?
What's that?
It's Mike Vrabel and him announcing that an assistant coach is going to coach a preseason game. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he is allowing, I think it's the defensive line coach or defense. I'm not sure what he is, but he's allowing one of his assistants to be an acting head coach for the preseason game. And I really like this idea. I think it's good for the future coaches and potential coaches of the NFL to have that experience, have that rep, be in charge of things. Well, he's still sort of there. It's basically like driver's ed for coaching. And this is something I would like to see more often for a lot of these other guys to kind of get to wear the big headset for a game and just be in charge of stuff. And I just think it's really cool. Like Staley's letting Derek Ansley call some of the defensive, calls in this game or whatever. But I think more so it's like oversee everything, time management. Obviously, Vrabel can come in and say, hey, you tried to put Jeffrey Simmons in. This is the preseason, bro. You're not doing it. Like, that ain't happened. Like, he has that sort of call. Like, you can't just get suited. Or he's, we've seen enough of Will Levis in this game. He's taken too many hits. Let's get him out. But let this guy sort of feel what that NFL game day experience is like, because it's going to give us better head coaches overall, I think.
Yeah, and I like it. And if you're going to let the players work stuff out, let these coaches work it out in the preseason. So I like it, Tony. I like exactly where he's going with it. I thought you were going to go another direction with Mike Vrabel, but yeah, I'm all for him giving his assistant coaches head coaching opportunities and get them ready for the next step in their career. Because it's funny how you have to interview, and it's not just NFL, but in other lines of work, you interview for a job that you've never done, and it's like, hey, so as a head coach, what do you plan on doing, or how are you going to fix? Like, I don't know, I've never been that. I've been an offense coordinator, I've been here. But as a head coach, I've never fit that. So now they actually get to see and do what the head coach does on game day, and it puts them in a better position when they go and interview for these spots, or if they do get a head coaching spot later on. So I applaud it.
I feel like most promotions, you've never done it before, right?
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing.
Yeah. Great opportunity for me.
But you got to answer questions like you did it. Like keep in there.
A lot of if you coach football before, this, you're way up through the ranks of being a coach in football. You're going to have to take some oddball positions just to get your foot in the door on some teams and to the next level. So there's a lot of times where something unique comes up, and now this guy will be more prepared for that unique situation if it happens. And also, it's just a good little moment to where he can experience what Mike Vrabel experiences. So when they're working together late in the season, they can relate even more now. I think it's a good move. It's a good move.
Not everybody can be homies.
Up, Joe. I don't mean to bring it back up, but they were letting Aaron Rodgers OC one of those games. I think it was the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I saw Aaron Rodgers call the play. He called a deep pass in the preseason, which I think is cool too. Starting quarterbacks, like people are giving Kirk Cousins a hard time because yesterday he had his helmet on the sideline. He didn't have pads on, but he had his helmet. What do you think he's listening to in that helmet? Like, really, guys? Like, you're giving a hard time. Kirk Cousins is going through the plays and listening to the play calling and all that. But I think it's a good idea, too, to get your quarterback to call some of these plays, too, so you can know that they understand the offense. I wouldn't be opposed to that either.
Yeah, and I think Kyler last year got to call some plays as like a play caller on the sideline in a preseason game. But we're not giving Cliff Kingsbury credit. After that Johnny Manziel doc, he should never be allowed to coach in the NFL again. Cliff Kingsbury sent Johnny Manziel down a path of destruction.
That's funny.
I was going to say, to become an NFL head coach, you got to go through a certain path. But I was going to become best friends with Jim Irsay and then maybe just go to a cookout, and I could become a head coach. Like, pretty simple.
Yeah. I think some of that luster is worn off. That McVay luster is worn off a little bit, because Raheem Morris, he should have gotten some looks at some point.
They probably aren't going to let you on the Colts sideline with that Raiders crap, Joe.
Hey, okay, yeah, only the Chargers hate on the Raiders, and I don't know why. And it is what it is. But I told Mike, Tony, I don't know if I told you this, but I told Mike I was going to make a powder blue Raider shirt for the next time I go to a event like that, and just like, what? What?
that would actually be kind of funny. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Like, kick me out now, Chargers! Kick me out now!
It's got to be the same
yeah.
shirt with the same lettering. Everything's the exact same, just the color is a little different.
The Chargers were trying to kick me out, and Mike's sitting there going, ban his ass! Ban him for life! Get him out of here!
The security was around him, and I was like, I'm not with him. Kick his ass out of here. Throw him out.
And the funny thing, I'm talking to all the security, and they're like, I'm not even Charger fans. I'm a Niner fan. I'm a Ravens fan. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's like, I mean,
the guy that got
everybody has their team.
The guy that got us the VIP passes, the connect we have to get VIP passes, is a Raider fan, ironically. That's all.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, let me get you guys out of here. We'll get out of here on this question. This is for the entire chat too. You know what? Let me wrap up the show. Thank you for watching MJT Football. Tony, Mike, Joe, please hit the subscribe button if this is on the audio version, if it makes it over there, if I do my job this week. Come on over to YouTube, MJT Football, and subscribe. Here, question, comment in the chats whether you think this will happen or not, and we'll go out with you two gentlemen in your answers. Is the Ravens' preseason win streak going to be snapped at all this preseason, or are the Eagles going to get them first? Well, or will they win 3 more games? Continue or die the streak?
I'm rocking with the Ravens. Let's continue, because I know Joe's going to be like, oh, look at the schedule. They have the hardest preseason schedule ever. There's no hard preseason schedules. John Harbaugh, get it done, buddy. Make me look smart.
Well, I just pulled up their schedule. Thank you very much for telling me what I'm going to do and what, because Joe Morley always brings up schedules. Joe Morley always goes and looks at, but they got the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Buccaneers as their 3 preseason games. So you got to think. I don't know. I'm looking at the depth. Like you guys, I would say win over the Bucs. Eagles. I don't know if the Eagles. I think they lose one. I'm
a little worried now.
They got Marcus Mariota playing for the Eagles. Don't the Raiders love Marcus Mariota?
Wow, we ain't backing Marcus Mariota on this. But I will say I'm a little worried because Trace McSorley is a huge part of this streak, and he's gone now. He's in Arizona.
Ooh.
Trace McSorley played last night.
Yeah,
he's talking about
the
Patriots. No,
Patriots.
No way.
Because he's.
Did you not see him play last night?
Trace
McSorley was on the field last night for the Patriots.
Did he play or did he just watch?
Yeah, he played.
Oh shit!
I had to run some errands during some of that stuff, but I didn't even get to on my list the quarterback controversy that is going to happen. Malik Cunningham is going to. I know.
Yeah. Saw it. He stick somebody.
Well, what's funny is I think they brought him in thinking he was going to be the new wide receiver convert to, like quarterback to wide receiver convert. All right, let's get out of here. We got more stuff to do. Tomorrow, Speakeasy, top 10 fantasy wide receivers. I hope everybody has a safe, wonderful weekend. Watch some preseason football. Be positive on the internet. Cheer on your rookies. Say something nice, even if they kind of drop the ball, or the backups or whatever. These are people living our dreams, but their dreams, more importantly. Be kind to them. Subscribe, all that fun stuff. 3 friends who love talking football, but we're always looking for a 4th, and you can be that 4th. Hit that subscribe button. Ethan, bolt up, buddy. Bolt up, Ethan.
Boom.
Raiders!